We have to go to the top, and that will be this canal section. It will be included as part of the Ashton Canal playlist. The Ashton Canal is rather short, I think 6.7 miles. This canal 12.8, something like that. Might be 16.2. It's not a good start, is it? Well, we'll get those facts as we walk on. I'm trying to explain now. There's a lot of things about canals already, but it's mainly about the people who have barges, you know, who are going around. There's explain the tunnels and how amazing the tunnels are, things like that. What I'm trying to do is find out, like, who built it, a bit about that person, and a bit about the history. So I don't want to set it in the modern day. I'm trying to look back to what it did look like. That's what I'm trying to do on everything, and then piece it together, so you can see how things were built before. You know, like, instead of saying, oh, look, this lock gate goes under a road, that for me is, I have to explain how the road was put there, at what time, how the canal was there first, so everything is built around the canal, and that's how it makes sense. So if you go with a story from when they were building the Manchester Ship Canal, for example, there was like one of the most devastating accidents in the Industrial Revolution, where I think it was 12 coal wagons were directed down the wrong line and crushed, you know, a lot of people working on night shift. Like 10 people were killed, but instantly, and, you know, like chopped in half and things like that. I'm not going to go too graphic. But I did read the newspaper report. A 14-year-old lad was responsible for the junction on the train tracks, and he sent 12 wagons full of coal in the wrong direction on the line. But he was 14 years old, and it was 1 AM and he was working, and I suspect maybe a few ales had been had by the other workers, and the young lad was responsible. Apparently he legged it, as you probably would. He was caught about 5 hours later, so he's found in a local coffee shop like 5 AM in the morning, probably sat in shock, to be fair. Things like that weren't really acknowledged back then. They would probably have called that shame, but imagine that, you know, how responsible he felt. Apparently the first thing he said when found was, I thought those wagons were empty, which immediately admitted his guilt. He wasn't smart enough for the police. But I would, in the modern day, you would say he's 14, he shouldn't be operating the signals, and therefore it would be corporate manslaughter. As it happened, he was tried for manslaughter at 14 years old. The ultimate punishment, he could go to the gallows. I will tell you more about that story at the end of the videos. So the reason I'm here is things like that, and I don't want to forget that, you see. We're also walking through an area which is now Greater Manchester, but it's actually Tameside. Greater Manchester is just a part, you know, it's within its boroughs, but because it's situated on this side of the river now, we're on the far side of the river, we're on Tameside. It's a different place, so it's actually the borough of Tameside, and we're in Droylsden. These places have merged together with time. Originally, all the places I visit, I walk along the canals, but I've been to all kinds of places, you know, just Littleborough, just a little bit, and then you see for yourself, like the town hall of Littleborough will be the original town, and a little market square, and they still have a market. Ashton-under-Lyne is the same. Ashton Market was here. And then, as I say, if you went back, you could spin the world back slowly, day by day, and take things away as things have been built, and it'd go back to fields and a market. Ashton would be, say, from Bury in the north, you know, to walk from Bury to Ashton markets would have taken a long time. And then as it's all grown though, they've all started to attach to one another, and now they all surround, you know, Manchester's grown with the Industrial Revolution like rapidly. The size of Greater Manchester now is just, you know, it's unbelievable. I'll get the actual figures. But like I say, originally they're all market towns, and each one of these little market towns during the Industrial Revolution has its own story. Like the first towel was made in this area. First ever towel in the world was made in this area during the Industrial Revolution. Now everyone uses them. Just, you know, things like that. It's like there's a traditional sausage. It's like the berry black pudding, it's called. But you can get that all around Europe now. But that would have been traditionally. You would only have found it in that area, and then it's spread out, hasn't it, and become popular that here, then all Manchester, and then, you know, because it's been, people have travelled around more, and it's now in supermarkets, and now it goes everywhere. But originally it was on one market stall. So Bury's probably more famous for inventing the police force, to be fair. But there you go. Yeah, so we invented the police force. Here, they were making, Brook Bond was making tea. One of the biggest tea companies in the world now. I can't mention brand names, unfortunately. So if you look up Brook Bond, you're probably familiar with their brand of tea. So that's going to look quite good, isn't it, when it's done? The canals then link into the town centre, so they can trade their goods with the rest of the world. The idea is to get it to the sea and get it out there. No aeroplanes and no trains. How they coped in the Industrial Revolution without a proper Manchester ship canal, I don't know. So yeah, the young lad, yeah, he's on trial, remember, and I'll read out the newspaper report, because I'm just going to try and explain a few things about the workings of the lift bridge. It's a counterbalanced lift bridge, so it has a weight at the top. I've seen a few of these along the way. They're usually a footbridge, but you pull a chain at the back and that lifts the whole bridge up, because the bridge weighs the same as the counterbalance at the back, the big massive, it's usually a concrete weight, but it would have been wood originally. So, and if you see all the workings and the cogs, it's all very technical, how it lifts with very little effort. I think you can drop it and damage it, but to hold it is very little force. It's in, you know, in newtons. Because of the counterbalance, it takes a lot of the gravity out of the force, so it doesn't pull that back, but it will drop because of the weight of the bridge. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how it works, a counterlever. You need a key to operate most of these things. British Waterways Association key. There's etiquette for lock gates. I'm going to explain some lock gate etiquette. The Peak District Canal, we're only going to get a sneak peek at the first mile. There's a bridge, get a glimpse of the sewer works, and one lift bridge. But it's just to show it I've started. That can then link when I get to the top. I'm going to get to the top and walk down, so it makes more sense to link to here. The Huddersfield Narrow, we're just going to do, like I say, the first mile and the bridge. There's an aqueduct, sorry. First, it looks cool, the first mile. You'll see that when I do it. But so Huddersfield's about 38 miles long. I'm not sure. Can't remember exactly. I've read up on them all. That's a longer one. I think the Rochdale Canal is actually the longest out of them all, at 32 miles. So it must be 22 or 26. Anyway, Huddersfield's a bit too long to follow for now. Yeah, so I'm not sure how that'll go. Yep, so this Peak Forest actually is Bugstown, it's now called Buxton. leads up. There's some kilns up there which are an important part of history. It's actually on the very edge of the Peak District. So like I say, I'm going to explain more about this canal. Got to save some information to talk about. So I'm going to explain how a lock works. I'm going to explain the area that we're in and how Ashton Canal is in actually the same area, because it's on the other side of this river, but it's like Gilesden covers a lot of the area, as I've said. So we'll get the history of Gilesden, like I say, all the little places as I explained before, how we know now. So not until infrastructure is upgraded to like the tarmac roads that we know today, and we all use cars. The roads literally reshaped the map. If you look, as you're driving along any motorway, you will see half a farm cut in half, or a river that just seems to go into the side of the motorway, so it has to go under a fancy bridge. Well, the river was there first. It's the motorway that's been slapped across everything else. It chopped through the canal, it just smashed right through, filled the canal in with concrete. Railways had to go around it or under it, or they had to negotiate that. So the railways, most of the lines were taken away, because roads are now the way forward, and that's it. No more investment in the other things, investment in roads. Ship Canal even starts to lose its popularity over time. It was the right idea at the time though. We got 100 years use out of the Manchester Ship Canal. It's still there, but it's actually closed. I think it's open to canal traffic and some pleasure cruising. There will be some things it's used for. You might have to bring something into Manchester one day that's too large for the motorways. So it's still there. It's just not used. It's not used. The company is dissolved that ran that canal. So we all know roads. It goes around Manchester in a circular, it goes around London in a circular. All the roads, A roads, go in from that circular to the centre and out, and then into the B roads, which go further into the older places.